Understanding Asthma. Hey there. Welcome back to another episode of The Stuff You Should Think About. I'm G, and I'm so glad you're here today. We spend our lives doing a lot of things automatically: blinking, digesting dinner, and of course, breathing. We take about 20,000 breaths a day without giving it a second thought. But what happens when that automatic process suddenly stops being automatic? Today, we're peeling back the layers on something that affects millions of people globally: asthma. Whether you've lived with it your whole life, you know someone who does, or you just felt a little curious about how your lungs actually function under pressure, this episode is for you. So get comfortable, take a nice deep breath, because we're going to talk about exactly what makes that possible. To understand asthma, we have to start with the plumbing of your respiratory system. Imagine your lungs as a giant upside down tree. You've got your trachea, the trunk, which splits into two large branches called bronchi. Those keep splitting into smaller and smaller twigs called bronchioles. At the very ends of those twigs are tiny, grape-like clusters called alveoli. This is where the magic happens. Oxygen hops into your blood and carbon dioxide hops out. It's a beautiful, efficient system. Did you know that if you stretched out all the airways in your lungs, they would span the length of a tennis court? It's massive. And in a healthy set of lungs, those airways are smooth, open, and lined with a thin layer of muscle that stays relaxed. But for someone with asthma, those airways are a bit more sensitive, like they're constantly on high alert. So, what is asthma really? At its core, it's a chronic inflammatory disease. But if you're talking to a friend about it, you can just call it hyperreactive airways. When you have asthma, your airways are essentially overdramatic. If they sense a trigger, and we'll talk about those triggers in a second, they don't just react, they overreact. When triggered, three things happen simultaneously. First, bronchospasm. Those muscles wrapped around your airways start to tighten up. Imagine a straw you're trying to breathe through, and then someone starts squeezing that straw. That's a bronchospasm. Next is inflammation. The lining of those airways becomes red, swollen, and puffy. This narrows the space even further. Lastly is mucus production. Your body thinks it's being attacked, so it starts firing off extra mucus to protect the area. But instead of protecting, it just clogs the pipes. Fact check. The term asthma comes from the ancient Greek word meaning panting or heavy breathing. It's been documented as far back as 3000 BC by the Egyptians. So people have been dealing with this for thousands of years. Now, if you want to think about your environment, for the average person, a little dust or a bit of cold air is annoying. For someone with asthma, it's a red alert. Triggers are incredibly personal. Some people are triggered by exercise. That's called exercise-induced bronchial constriction, or EIB. Others are triggered by allergens, pollen, pet dander, mold. Then there are irritants: cigarette smoke, strong perfumes, cold air, or even intense emotional stress. Think of it like a bucket. Everyone has an asthma bucket. If your bucket is small or already half full of inflammation, it doesn't take much for it to overflow. If your bucket is large, you might be able to handle a bit of dust without issue. But once that bucket overflows, that's where you get that tightness in your chest, the wheezing, and that feeling that you're trying to breathe through a coffee stirrer. Have you ever wondered why the wheeze happens? It's actually physics. When the air is forced through those tightened, narrowed, and mucus-filled airways, it creates a turbulence. It's like blowing air through a slightly pinched balloon neck. That high-pitched sound you hear isn't actually the lungs themselves. It's the sound of air struggling to navigate a restricted path. Another fact check. Interestingly, not all asthma sounds the same. Some people experience a silent chest where the airways are so constricted that there isn't enough air moving through to create the wheezing sound. That's actually a sign of a more severe attack because air isn't moving at all. I get asked a lot, gee, can I grow out of it? The answer is yes and no. Many children seem to outgrow asthma as their airways grow larger and their immune systems mature. However, the genetic predisposition is still there. It can return in adulthood, often triggered by a respiratory infection or significant environmental changes. As of right now, there's no permanent cure in the sense that you can just take a pill and be done with it forever. But, and this is a big but, it is incredibly manageable. We have two main types of medicine. One being controllers. These are the maintenance meds. They're like sunscreen for your lungs. You take them daily to keep the inflammation low so that your bucket doesn't fill up. The next one would be rescuers. These are fire extinguishers. They work almost instantly to relax those muscles and open the airways back up. If you find yourself needing your rescue inhaler more than twice a week, that's your body's way of saying, hey, we need to adjust the maintenance plan. We don't talk about this enough, but living with a chronic condition like asthma takes a toll. There's a psychological component to it. If you ever had trouble catching your breath, you know that that's a terrifying sensation. It's primal. It triggers our fight or flight response. If you're listening to this and you have asthma, I want you to know it's normal to feel anxious. But that anxiety can actually make the asthma worse. It creates a feedback loop. When you get anxious, your muscles tighten, which makes breathing harder, which makes you more anxious. The best tool in your arsenal, besides your inhaler, is learn how to pace your breathing. Keep your exhales long and slow. This can help calm your nervous system and signals your body that you're safe. Before we wrap up today's conversation, I want to leave you with a few more nuggets of info that I find fascinating. First one is asthma is not one disease. Doctors now recognize different phenotypes. Some people have allergic asthma, while others have non-allergic asthma. Some people have late onset asthma that only shows up in their 40s or 50s. It's kind of a spectrum. Next is laughter can be an asthma trigger. It's called laughter-induced bronchospasm. So, if you're watching a movie and you start coughing after a giggle fit, it's not just the popcorn. It's the airway reacting to the rapid, forceful exhales. Lastly, the air inside your home can be more polluted than the air outside. Things like gas stoves, candles, and cleaning sprays can all irritate airways. Ventilation is a massive part of asthma management. At the end of the day, asthma is just one way your body tries to overprotect you. It's hypersensitive, it's dramatic, and it's a bit of a nuance. But the right management and understanding, it doesn't have to define your life. If you take anything away from this episode, let it be this. Listen to your body. If you're feeling tight, if you're waking up at night, or if you're limiting your activities because you're worried about your breath, don't just push through it. Your lungs are the only pair you get. Treat them with kindness. I hope that clear up some of the mystery behind the wheeze. If you got questions and want to share your own experience, reach out. We're all in this together, one breath at a time. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Stay curious, stay mindful, and I'll catch you on the next episode of Stuff You Should Think About. This podcast is for informational purposes only. If you find that you need professional advice, I highly advise you to seek a professional. Thanks for listening.